Hello, beautiful stranger. Let's talk today about insecurities, self worth, and procrastination. I believe it's going to be incredibly useful. I wrote an essay on the topic, so let's get started into it. More than 15 years ago, when I first started creating things and posting things on the internet, I wish I knew these two main ideas, those two main concepts. The first concept is related to the idea of your work not being good enough, and the second is related to the idea of people not accepting you. So, there are certain things that are underlying both themes. There is a central fear that you are not going to be loved, that you are not going to be enough. And if you have this fear, if you do believe that you are not enough, that you are not gonna be loved, this is going to reflect in your procrastination and in your willingness to do the work, right? So, I will list the most important things that I want to discuss. And I want you to allow yourself to be more free in your creation process. This will also help you avoid procrastination, because procrastination comes from fear of doing something which is difficult and doing it poorly. You don't procrastinate on things which are very easy, and I do agree with what I wrote there. You don't procrastinate on easy things. And maybe you need to write a research paper. You are probably going to procrastinate on that. That has a very high value, but typically it's a difficult task. But writing down a phone number or something like this, you don't typically procrastinate because it's such an easy task to do, okay? So if you don't have enough self-love and self-worth, you're going to find it quite difficult not to procrastinate. Okay, so there is this idea of self-love and self-worth that's underlying everything, because at the moment when you're having enough self-worth, you can say, I don't care how my work is received. And when you can say that, it's the moment when you get a lot of freedom, a moment when you get a lot of creativity, a moment when you can create without shame or guilt. You're not gonna have this imposter syndrome. And I'll give you this example. Like this, what I'm wearing is a t-shirt that I designed. It's terrible, it's awful, but it was the very first design that I made, okay? Now I had some much better iterations. I'm waiting for them to be printed and so on. That aside, the idea is that this is terrible, but for me, it means it's progress, right? And you will eventually end up thinking this way if you won't have guilt or shame about the things that you are doing. So, okay, you can think when you're in that negative self-talk, when you're not having enough self-worth, you can say things to yourself along the lines of, I've seen this thing on that platform which is much better than what I'm doing. Okay. I've seen that guy that I admire, he's doing much better work. I've seen people that are charging money for work, and I don't feel comfortable charging money for my work. Okay. So, see, objectively there are many other more things, but those are things that people tell themselves, and they discourage themselves, and they choose not to act. And I know you're gonna hate this, but this comes from childhood. This comes from trauma from childhood. And see, when you're a kid, in your development stages, in your development ages, you're trying to build self-esteem. That's the role of your developmental stage. And you're exploring the world. You're trying, you're failing, and the failures do not punish you that much when you're a kid. Just think of it. You're roller skating for the first time as a kid. You're falling from the height of, I don't know, 70 centimeters, whatever. It's not gonna hurt you that much. Right now, at 1.8 meters, if I fall, it's going to hurt. And my bones are not what they used to be. But that's the thing. So when you're failing as a kid, it's not hurting you that much. You can recover much quicker, right? So that's what you should be doing, and you should have the perfect environment in which you can learn and in which you can fail. So this is how self-esteem is built, by learning what life is, how to deal with life, and what you desire, what you love, what you're passionate of. Because we're different, and each person enjoys different things. I am enjoying a certain number of items and you are going to enjoy a certain number of items, and this is important because I will put you to do some work in the next minutes. So, okay, growing up in the kind of environment that nurturing, it's so good and so underrated because a person needs both the masculine and the feminine, and it needs it when they're perfectly balanced. It needs it when they are having this interplay, as they do in couples that do love each other. Parents that still have that relationship that provide love to themselves and to the kid as well, 20 or 30 years in, they have this interplay of masculine and feminine, right? So you might argue against this, but I'm telling you, this is the way in which the self-esteem is built. By a great couple that is providing the kid with love, with support, with lessons, with, I wouldn't call it punishment, but with teaching the kid what's good and what's not, what's bad and what's evil. Okay, you need values in order to build your self-esteem, and there are so many things about self-esteem. I recommend you you should read on this topic, how to build your self-esteem. But this is what we're trying to do right now with some very light exercises. Okay, so by the way, parents do not matter. It can be a same-sex couple, right? Because in a same-sex couple, is going to be a masculine and a feminine one. So it's all about polarity. You don't want two people that are arguing with themselves. You don't want two people that are in their masculine. You don't want to be in a relationship with a partner that you find disagreeable, or that you despise, or because that is going to resonate on your child, right? So okay, whew, that's gonna be so interesting to move on. I had another list of things. So what you need in order to not have any sort of self-worth problems. And by the way, I'm telling you this list because I want you to realize how difficult it is to have proper self-worth without working on it. So each thing that you want on this earth, you have to put in the work. You have to design the life that you want to live, and you have to work to achieve it. Okay, so it's the same with self-esteem and the same with self-worth. Why? Because those are things that can happen even in the best couples, even in the best relationships. Those are the things, like a medical emergency. For a long period of time, this is gonna leave a trauma. And that's the point. Traumas are so easy to come across. Okay, so another thing, financial hardship that can come across. Some parent might be stressed at work, might have some job or career issues. What else? Maybe it's the loss of somebody extremely dear when you're young in childhood, and that leaves a trauma, right? So there are so many things that can create traumas, and how do those things behave when you're an adult? You're going to find those things out when you are going to deal with issues, and see, you are typically realize those things when you find out the following: you're accepting things that you don't want to accept. You find it very hard to say no. You find it hard not to help when you don't really want to help. You find it hard you find it hard to speak your mind. You find it hard to not allow people to walk all over you, right? Maybe you're acting neurotic. Maybe you have anxiety. Anxiety is leading to procrastination. Procrastination, in its form of manifesting, is very close to anxiety, because you're feeling like, why should I produce something right now? I cannot, because you don't feel like you are good enough to produce it right now. Or maybe you feel like it is too difficult, or you don't have the knowledge, or whatever excuse you find. Okay? It doesn't matter. But it's still anxiety. You're still feeling anxious about it. Trust me. So, you might tend to think that all those things happen in your life because you're stressed, because you're tired, because life is hard. And those are just excuses. Coping with things instead of dealing with the root issues represents a lack of self-esteem. A lack of having that respect for ourselves. for our core. If you do not respect yourself, if you do not believe that you are worth different things, you are never going to ask for them. People are never going to respect you, and people are not going to have a good relationship with you. People that do not respect you cannot have a good relationship with you, and this I can guarantee you. I know it's not nice. Life is not nice. I'm here to tell you things how they are. You might agree with me or not, but this is what I found from so many experiences, not only of myself but of others as well. But I'm telling you, people that do not respect you cannot have a good relationship with you, right? And they will take, and you will give, and you will find that you will be so stressed out by the relationship, and you will find that they are not doing the things that you want to. Guess what? When you're a relationship, when you're entering a relationship, you should be there to give, not to take. So you shouldn't have expectations to what they should be giving you. But the idea is that if you're seeing that they're always taking and they're not giving back from their own accord, that's something that's also worth noticing. That's a relationship that does not serve you. So, I'm spitting facts for like 11 minutes. Let's move on because this essay has like 25 minutes or so. So this is more like a live, if you want to call it like that. Because I'm not gonna edit it, I'm just gonna put it on YouTube as it is. But I just see I'm doing this because there is so much that you can improve in this area and that you can obtain by just having good self-worth and good self-love and good self-care. And I'm a person who didn't love himself. I'm a person who hated himself for such a long time, and I'm not blaming anybody for that. I'm not blaming even myself. It's all that I knew at that point. So I'm trying to make you to grow as well, and I will have some exercises in that we can do, right? So here is the first action. We're to the actionable part. Okay, so do a list of 10s. I love this thing. So a list of the things that you absolutely love, not that you like, the things that you are absolutely passionate of, that you wouldn't live without, things that make your soul feel alive. They make you feel on fire. They make you want to work. You lose the track of time. When I'm describing those ideas to you, what comes to your mind? If you need, rewind. But again, think of what makes you feel alive. Think of what makes you defeat all those nihilist thoughts, right? Those are going to be your 10s. Man, I'm losing my my voice, but yeah, those are going to be your 10s, right? So what you need to do is to start doing things for yourself. That's how you build self-esteem, right? Because typically, if you're an agreeable person, you are going to have low self-esteem. If you're a disagreeable one, you might also have low self-esteem, but it manifests in different ways. So if you're an agreeable person and you know that you're agreeable, if you're a people pleaser, so to speak, then you need to do more things for yourself. And what you're doing is to do those things from the list of 10s. I have another list, which is the second action point, which is the list of the things that I want to explore. And the list of 10s should have 15 to 20 items at most. But this list of things that I want to explore, which I have actually in front of me, I have 62 items, okay? And you can find way more than that. And those can be like very short term or longer term. And man, it's so funny that there is this crow that's singing outside, but it's amazing right when you're trying to film a video. So, well, as I was saying, I wanted to do a master's degree, okay? But I also wanted to have an experience of let me say audio editing, right? Or losing weight. Like, those are experiences that I wanted to do. I wanted to travel to a certain city to a certain festival. I did that and it was great. It's an experience that I wanted to have in this life, right? So see, the things that you want to explore can be longer term or shorter term. But this is another list that you can take items from and do You can do things that you want to explore maybe once every 3 or 5 days, but from the list of the things that you love, and the crow agrees with me, from the list of the things that you love, you need to do them day in and day out. There is no excuse, and not all of them, but I would say 80% of your time should be spent on the things that you love. That stuff, that's hard. I never managed to do it. I'm typically at around 50%, but I'm saying 80% because it gives you room to fail. It's very important in life to have this room to fail. I do this with goal setting, with all the things that I'm doing for self improvement, and I want to reach 80 or 90%, and I'm reaching 55 or 60 of my goals. And I realize, damn, that's amazing. Like the things that I did, I'm proud of myself, even though it's not what I wanted to. So it's always, overshooting, and it's always having this understanding that what you are trying to do is the thing that you love and the thing that you think will best fulfill you in the longer term. And this is 80% of the time that you are not putting in hours to get some money. Because okay, let's be realistic, sometimes people do work for money, and ideally you would find things that you love in that job. There is this guy that has a great explanation of it, and he says that you should have, again, this list of the things that you love, and in a job you need to spend more time doing things that you love than things that you don't like. And if you have that balance, that you do have a job that you also love. But for some people this is not the reality. Ideally you want to get there, so I also want to get there, and every person I would recommend you getting there. But now we're building your self-worth and self-esteem, and we're doing it in small steps, right? So the job comes in the future. The job, okay, it will come. You will change things there as well. But now what you need to do is to do stuff for yourself, things that you love, things that you want to try. Those two things. Okay, so I spent so much time on this. See, you need to build yourself enough so that you are able to give, right? Because as I was saying, in relationships, ultimately what you want is giving. The thing that nice people do, the thing that I did, the thing that good guys or nice guys do, they give, but they don't have where to give from. Okay, they don't realize that they're giving something that they should not necessarily not give, but they don't have the reservoir to give, right? And you see me, right? I'm a soft spoken gentleman. I'm a person who typically tends to be more nerdish. I'm a person who enjoys being kind to others. I absolutely love that. If I can do an act of kindness, then it fills me immensely. But the thing is that you should do that when you have enough to give. Because if you're depleting yourself, man, you're just inviting disrespect. Okay, so this is the problem. This is the main issue with the nice guys, right? They tolerate a lot of disrespect, right? So you get to learn at some point when you're being disrespectful, and this is because you were at some point in your life pre-programmed through your education, through your growing up, through what you saw in your family. We're being born with a propensity to do certain things, but also as blank slates. We do have this in language as well. I'm studying cognitive science. I'm a person who knows that area. So we are being built with the let's say hardware to do those things, but the software is not necessarily there. The software is developed in during your life. Okay, so the idea is that you are being taught to be in a certain way through your movies that you're watching, through the books that you were reading, through the people that taught you. And the part where you're realizing that you're not happy is the part where you're realizing that you're not having enough self-love. You don't find things fulfilling. Self-love is allowing yourself to be how you desire to be, how your self dictates you to be, soul, whatever word you want to say, right? I'm not a believer in the idea of soul. I'm a believer in the idea of self. There is a self, and see, we don't know what that is. I will not go into consciousness. I will not go into that whole debate. But the idea is that everything in psychology or everything in cognitive science, those are educated guesses. We have no way of replicating the way the brain works. We have no way of recreating yourself. We have no way of recreating a certain person. You might think you can create a brain. You cannot. You cannot create a certain type of synapses, right? Those are still complicated enough. We didn't find yet a way to do it, right? Across different layers in the way that synapses are created. Our brain has a much larger order of magnitude than what we can create at this point, right? So we cannot replicate the brain. And even if we could, we would have to embody it. Because, see, yeah, true, you would have to embody it. And also, you would also have to replicate all of these stages of existence, which we obviously don't know. Maybe you can postulate certain stages of existence, right? From birth to whatever level of development. But it's not an exact science. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? So everything that you are going to try is going to be an educated guess. But there is a reason why those exercises have worked for so many people. It's because, as with proverbs, as with idioms, people saw results. So if you're doing things for yourself when you're not having self-worth, if you are talking to other people, if you are being in a learner's mindset, a mindset that is also stoic. Why? Because, see, somebody reacts negatively to you, okay? And you can have two options. One, either I'm not good enough and they should treat me like dirt. Or two, they had a bad day. They didn't like the sunshine. It was too hot. They were thirsty. They were hungry. They were. You know, that's the famous study done in jury duty that people who are before their lunch are going to punish you way more for the same type of offense. And it's true. When I'm hungry, come on, you know yourself as well. When you're hungry, you just wanna stop what you're doing and eat something, grab something to eat. That's the most important thing that you are going to do. And you don't really care about very high level items, and that's a matter of survival. We've been like this for 200,000 years or whatever. However much you wanna go back in our evolution, right? If I mean, even with our latest development, which is the neocortex, that's such a tiny amount in the area of the existence that it doesn't matter. Okay, so look, the only way to try those methods is to do things for yourself. People have tried different things over time, and when they find out that they are able to get some sort of level of experience, and they become good at that item. They become good at, let's say you want to build tables, right? Your first one is terrible, and then in 1 year maybe you are building tables which are with LEDs included, smart tables, and so on and so forth. It's progress, right? It's progress because you kept through it, and what will happen with your self-esteem is going to inflate, because now you have an additional skill that you can do. And guess what? Maybe I'm not good at football, right? But I'm great at making tables. So, see, that's a way of doing that. So you're doing it for yourself, and it doesn't mean that you're a selfish prick, because here is where this might, let's say, hit a wall, right? People with narcissism and with traits that are narcissistic like, by the way, they're much less than you're believed to be. So not all people that are selfish are narcissists, and true narcissists are quite rare. Um, Typically, they are extremely easy to to point out. But the idea is that you shouldn't be a selfish prick, because you're doing things that you love and you're doing things that you want to try. And those things are neutral for others, or they're leading to their greater good. This is an important caveat, right? Me writing a book is something that I want to do, and it's something that I love. Guess what? This can also lead to the greater good, right? For the people that are reading it. And I'm not sure why I'm taking notes. It's just funny to do that. But the whole spiel is that you can put on the list of the things that you want rob a bank. That's not good. That's not gonna build your self-esteem. That's gonna make you end up in jail. And okay, come on, this is common sense, but I had to say it, right? So, another thing that you can do, reconnect with friends. The fourth thing, eating out alone. Go and eat out, take yourself on dates, right? Eat on your own, by yourself, at restaurants. You're gonna find it quite annoying, and you're gonna find it that you're not feeling too good about yourself. This is resistance, and you have to move past resistance. I've had this lesson when I was living in the UK, and first I would be eating lunch in like 5 minutes and I would rush out of the pub because I was ashamed. That was the thing. I was ashamed that I didn't have any friends to eat lunch then with. Guess what? I stopped caring, and by the end of the semester, I was taking my time. I was spending like 40-50 minutes eating lunch, enjoying the food. People tell that pubs don't have good food, but they did. Come on, I actually enjoyed the food. It just made me really fat. But that aside, enjoy the food, taste it, take your time, and don't rush it. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel bad. Who cares? You're there alone. You have people will look at you, and they will probably not care. And if they care, they will say, "Look, that guy, I would not never be able to eat alone," and that's what happens when you have that confidence and that self-worth, because you are showing up as a person who trusts what he's doing, who trusts what he wants, right? So yeah, I want to eat alone. I really wanted to enjoy this meal without conversation, and just go to a nice restaurant and look at people, and yeah, try to study some of the dynamics. I don't know, but you can pick up any rationalization that you want, right? So okay, when you are fully comfortable, when you're in that comfortable state, you are going to realize that sometimes anxiety creeps back in. So what do you do then? You realize, fine, that's anxiety, and what typically happens, that builds more anxiety on top of it. So what are you going to do to fight that? Well, you can do something else from the list, or you can move around, or you can shift your focus. The thing that helped us survive, the thing that kept us alive for so many years, the thing that made us not being extinct, is our ability to focus on different things. You know this about our vision, right? And man, I should sleep more. But if I'm looking right at you, the things that I'm seeing on my peripheral vision are like extremely blurry. Even with glasses on my peripheral vision, like I don't see that much. I need to do that, right? In order to be able to focus on that certain thing. So the idea is that if you focus on something else, something that you love, something that you're passionate of, something that makes you in a good mood, not move, mood, but also move. You see, that's a Freudian slip. But see, that will help. Because another thing that I recommend you do, watch comedy shows. Watch comedy shows and go out, because you are going to be in a good mood. And even you can listen to those while you're walking, and you will laugh at things, and people will be like, hey, look, that's an individual that's having a good time. It doesn't even matter. Like when you're smiling and when you're a nice person, people feel more attracted to you. Imagine if I would talk to you like this. I would be frowning. I'd be like so upset about life. How do you feel about watching this video right now? Yeah, it sucks, right? You don't want that. You don't want that kind of energy to translate to the others. Okay, so also another thing that you can do, you can have pattern interrupts, and this is something from NLP, from NAC. Those are things that are, again, I'm a person who's in academia, right? And I can tell you those are things that were disproved. The results are not concluded, but the idea is that if you are doing something and if you believe in that certain thing and if you believe that certain thing helps, it will help you. If you believe that when you're snapping your fingers you are getting into a better mood, which is what's done through NLP, NAC, whatever, that's going to happen, right? And you keep conditioning it, because conditioning it once and then forgetting about it puts you on a downward trajectory, right? And when that happens, no matter how good the initial conditioning is, it's going to fail. It's the same thing, more or less, with the Pavlov's dogs, right? You can condition yourself so well. You can do it with so many things. But if you're not using that conditioning properly, then that's neuron synapse, because in the end everything is just that. So what's happening when you're having a habit or when you're associating things in your brain? There are different connections, different synapses that are created in your brain. What typically happens when you're doing something out of habit rather than consciously, what you're doing is the myelin, it's much stronger in those connections, right? So you're doing behavior A, which is an automated behavior and it's good, and behavior B, which is a good behavior but it's not automated. You are much more likely to do behavior A because, see, the connection is so strong. It's the same thing as playing the piano, right? If you've done that for such a long time, you are going to know all the keys, and you are going to know where your hand is positioned. You are going to know those things. You will not have to look at your hands, trust me. So right, I was talking about focus. It's funny because it seems like we've lost focus, but we didn't. Focus was the main idea. So you can shift your focus away from anxiety by doing positive things, or by what I was talking about, like listen to comedic shows, do some outrageous things, laugh out loud, have this type of laughter, ha 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 ha, like if you're alone in the room, or standing up, or any type of crazy thing that you wanna do. So if you're doing what you love, and on my list, for example, I have walking. I love walking so much. So when you're feeling that anxious, you can do that, okay? Maybe it has to be something easier than that. Maybe you have some dumbbells, right? You lift, you do a set, not much than that, and you're doing that, or you're drinking some orange juice to make you feel better, whatever, right? Also try to pick habits that are good for you. So orange juice, lots of sugar, would not recommend, but lifting weights, yeah, why not? Maybe I should take my own advice in that matter, right? So do stuff for yourself. That's how you build your self-esteem. And we spent 34 minutes on the first thing, but guess what? That's the idea. The second part of the video talks about what people care, right? So it's about people that do not like your work, because one of the reasons why you're procrastinating or not putting work is that you're afraid that people will hate it. You're afraid that people will point at you and will laugh. And I was hinting at this earlier. When people are looking at you, they will, in 90% cases, not care. This is a way of life, and people should not care about you. You're not part of their tribe. You're not part of their friends. You're just different entities, right? You are going to see so many people walking by you on a day-to-day basis. You cannot care about everybody. And you will find this out. Think of the last time when you saw somebody tripping. Do you remember how that guy looked like? I don't. I remember yesterday some person tripped, right? But I literally don't remember how he looked like. I don't remember how he was dressed. I just remember that a guy tripped and I looked back because of the noise. That's it. And guess what? Next week I will forget about it. We don't have the capacity to hold that many thoughts in our head and that many memories, right? This is why out of sight, out of mind is quite a good example, right? So, if you want to better say it in another way, you're doing something out of 100 people, or out of 1,000 people, but let's say out of 100 people. In real life, on internet it's 1,000. So, out of 100 people in real life, 10% will care, which is 10. Jesus, 10. What was that? Which is 10 people, right? So 10 people will care. 10 people will care about the thing that you're doing. 9 of them will love or will be indifferent. And 1 of them maybe will hate it. Those are the numbers. And why do I know? So, story time, and I will end with this. I posted this video back in 2016 or 17. In 2016 I had my epiphany phase. I changed myself. I started to look and work on myself, to study psychology, to study philosophy, to study religion, to study so many things that I had a passion for, but I never thought that made sense to me to study. So I started from motivational speakers, right? I started with Tony Robbins, with Jim Rohn, and so on. And the latter, the Jim Rohn, 1 minute of one of his talks hit me so hard, and I wanted to capture that on my YouTube channel. Back then, I didn't have a YouTube channel, right? I clipped that movie, and I posted it because I thought it was amazing, and nothing happened. Like, I got 20 views. Year passed, and in 2020 or 2021, YouTube Shorts was introduced. Guess what happened? They picked that short and they advertised it, and I got 155k views up to this point. And in that video, this guy Jim Rohn, which has some great advice, some good, some questionable, as all people do, like never trust a single source and never do things without putting them through your own mental machine, so to speak. So this guy has right now in my YouTube account 4 point something, more than 4,000 likes, okay, and around 300 or 200 dislikes. So guess what? People disliked Jim Rohn that was giving in that minute a great advice. That was giving people the advice not to give up and to keep on fighting. And that's basically the gist of it. And he was doing it in such a great manner. And people dislike it. There are no videos on the internet which have more than 100 likes that have no dislikes. There is not a video like that. So I'm telling you, there are going to be people that dislike you no matter what you do. And there are going to be people that dislike you even if you're not doing jack shit. If you're not doing things, that's even worse, because people are going to associate you with being a loser, right? They're not going to give you the time of the day. This is why hate and negativity is actually so good for yourself. It's telling you that maybe you're doing something bad. Maybe you're doing, for example, those are videos where they have a equal like to dislike ratio. Those are videos in which people are doing things that are not good. Okay, so or maybe one of my videos, it has 80% like rate. So I'm understanding that video is quite poor, that I need to switch it up, to do something else. And see, this is what you should be aware of. This is what you should keep in your mind on a daily basis. You're doing your piece of work. Do you care about the 2 people that saw your artwork and said that's terrible, Or do you care about the 8 people that saw it, liked it, and maybe one of them even purchased it? Right? Build your self-confidence by doing things for yourself. Build your self-confidence by understanding that people do literally spend such a little amount of time thinking about you. You shouldn't care if somebody dislikes you. Typically, people do also dislike themselves, or you're a person that goes against their values. In each case, it's fine. Each individual should have his or her own set of values that makes him or her happy and content. If I'm against your values, or if you're against my values, it's fine for me to dislike you, and vice versa. Right. So the only thing that I have to say a caveat: if you're feeling like you are disliking somebody and that comes from a point of envy, this is also a measure of self-worth. So try to figure out what you can do, how you can become a better person, how you can build your self-worth, how you can have these successes, these wins in life. And this will grow your actually, it will decrease your envy, right? It will grow your self-esteem. That's what I wanted to say, but I was just repeating myself. So, see, tough luck with different things. You are born in a certain way. You are born in a certain family. You are born with a certain amount of money. You are born with a certain ability or disability or whatever. It's not gonna matter. It's what you can do from that point. It's what you can do from now. It's what you can do from present. What you can do through action, by having a plan and leading to what you eventually desire. So I will give you some other thing that that might help. So another thing that might help, and it's quite shallow, is making something that you're rewarded to. Maybe views, maybe money, maybe whatever. Another thing is getting good at something, getting better, becoming a master, getting mastery in that field. You are going to find that you are going to feel way more worthy of respect and of love, right? You shouldn't get your self-worth from external factors. It should be intrinsic, not extrinsic. But this also helps in the beginning stages, right? If you're seeing that you're having some wins, it will help you, and then you can build your self-worth through your actions, through who you are. So and that why through your actions, why through who you are? Because if you're doing things that you love, if you're doing things that are good for everybody, if you're doing things that help each person's soul, including yours, then what you will eventually do is growing that self-worth, because you will realize that what you're doing is actually important. Okay, so deep work is also something that you should strive for. Winning small competitions, I was saying small wins. It can be any sort of stupid stuff. There are so many ways at winning at life. There are so many ways at winning at things that give you a small dopamine rush, right? So you shouldn't become addicted to dopamine. I do have a research paper on that, on the addiction to dopamine, and on how that is created. So irregular hits of dopamine when you're doing a certain thing will addict you to that certain thing. This is why social media is so powerful. That's an extremely brief explanation, trust me. It takes you like 40 or 50 pages to discuss those things, and maybe another hour. So we don't have that. We really don't have that. But think of even your past wins, right? What you did, you graduated that university. You had that relationship. You had those friends. You had those successes. Like, think of those things. You went to those seminars, to those courses, to all the things that made your body and your soul feel really excited and alive. And yeah, again, another thing, laugh with your friends or through comedy. Oh, by the way, you can buy a ticket to a comedy show if you want, instead of a movie, and go on your own, if you're brave enough. Sometimes, and by the way, don't sit in the first row. If you're doing that, don't sit in the first row. It's a lesson that you have to learn the hard way. But typically, in a stand-up show, you never sit in the first row, unless you want the attention on yourself. And if you do, more power to you, right? But also, don't get butthurt if people are going to mock you, because that's kind of the idea there, right? So I think those are good enough. Those are good enough tips. Remember the list of the things that you love. Remember the list of the things that you want to try. Do those things. Do them often. Do them daily. They have to be done daily. So that's it. That's it. If you are finding that you're having, success, that you're having mastery, that you are moving in the right direction, it doesn't matter what you want to achieve, you will find out that you are feeling much more self-worthy. It's becoming so hot in here. I've never done a video for such a long time, but I really love talking about this, and I really love talking to you. You can put things, believe they're the greatest. You can put things at a high rate. There are people who do it there, and you can do it as well. And when those people do it, they become better through each iteration, and that's what you should do as well. That's what happens in machine learning as well, right? There are so many millions of iterations. You should have the same type of mindset, right? Try and do things. Take action. That's the idea. Put in the work and the effort, because just by thinking of the things that you love or that you want to do is not good enough. You need to get out of the house, get out of the comfort zone, and it will work for you. It will work for you. You have to build your own self-esteem. Nobody's responsible for that. You should be aware where you are right now. You should take ownership for where you are right now, and you should say, from now on, I'm improving and I'm loving myself. And with that, I do also love you. I do also love you for trying and for being here with me. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.